Hey, good morning, members of the MAG Public Safety Answering Point Managers Group. This meeting is now called to order. For those around the table, please turn on your microphone when speaking. For those participating via Zoom, please state your name when making a comment or asking a question. The MAG public comment process allows members of the public to comment on items on today's agenda or on items that fall under MAG's jurisdiction. If you would like to comment at today's meeting, please fill out a white request to speak card located on the information table in the hallway and give it to MAG staff. If you parked in the garage, parking validators are available on the information table in the hallway. If you purchased a transit ticket to come to the meeting, please see staff for a ticket. Hearing assisted devices are available from MAG staff. We will now begin the meeting with a roll call of all members.
Thank you, Chair. I'll go through the list of members. When I call your name, please indicate you are present for the record. GMR Kristen.
Present.
Thank you. Apache Junction Jessica.
Present.
Avondale Angela.
Present.
Buckeye PD Jim.
Present.
Chandler PD Stephanie.
Present.
Fort McDowell Stephanie. Glendale Loretta.
Present.
Goodyear Shauna.
Present.
Luke Air Force Base David. MCSO still Jim.
Present.
Mesa Fire Nicole.
Present.
Lindy Mesa PD.
Present.
Heather with Paradise Valley.
Present.
Brittany with Peoria. Dan with Jim with Phoenix Fire.
Present.
Dan with Phoenix PD. Karen with Scottsdale.
Present.
Tanya with Tempe.
Present.
Amanda with Tolleson.
Present.
And Aaron with Wickenburg. Is there anyone I've missed? Chair, we have a quorum.
Okay, our next item is a call to the audience. This is the opportunity for the public to comment on items that fall under MAG's jurisdiction that are not on the agenda or that are on the agenda for discussion and not for action. 15 minutes will be provided for the call to the audience agenda item unless the committee requests an exception to this limit. I have not received any requests to speak cards for this agenda item. MAG also provides the opportunity for members of the public to submit written comments via the MAG website 1 hour prior to the meeting. Staff, do we have any written comments for this item?
We do not.
The next item is approval of the April 13th, 2023 meeting minutes. Does any member of the PSAP Managers Group have any questions or comments on the minutes? Prior to approval of this item, do we have any members of the public who wish to comment on this item?
We do not.
Okay, I have not received any requests to speak cards for this item. Staff, do we have any written comments for these items? We do not.
No written
Okay.
comment.
Could I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Jim Stillwell, motion.
We have a motion from Jim Stillwell and a second,
Loretta Hadlock.
second from Loretta. Can I have a voice vote for those in the room? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Staff can take a roll call of the members participating virtually.
Thank you. Glendale PD. Loretta.
I approve.
Goodyear PD, Shauna.
Aye.
Mesa PD, Lindy.
Aye.
Paradise Valley PD, Heather.
Aye.
Scottsdale PD, Karen.
Aye.
Is there anyone online that I missed?
Jessica with Apache Junction. Aye.
I'm sorry. Sorry, Jessica.
That's okay.
Okay.
Dan McNamee joined late from Phoenix.
And do you have a vote on the minutes, Dan?
Aye.
Okay. It appears that the motion passes.
Okay, the next agenda item is the administrator report. Liz Graber, Merrick 911 Administrator, will provide this report.
All right, so these are our stats that we go through every time. Since the previous year total was 141. Year to date we have is 61. So we are right on track with those numbers. Our text to 911 had an uptick because Lindy, was Mesa that you joined? Mesa joined the text for ADT.
Yes, we did.
So our monthly average is up to 1202 per month. Year to date is 6,011. And the previous year was 11,430. So you can see that we're ahead of the mark on beating the year. And I contribute that to doing ADT. So far it's just Mesa and MCSO. Is any other PSAPs entertaining to move over to have ADT provide that service? I'll take the silence as a no. And that's my report for our stats, unless somebody has any questions.
Loretta with Glendale PD,
Do you know, I think it's Mesa and County that are actually doing that. What's the impact on their call takers for copying that information over and sending the call for service in after, just duplicating the process?
So we'll ask Jim, you want to take a stab at that?
I can provide the actual numbers at a later time, but anecdotally, I'll say it's seems to be helping out. It has taken our average call times and our average answer times have improved immensely since we implemented it. And you can do in 15 to 20 seconds what it used to take you a couple of minutes to do via voice.
Lindy, do you have anything you want to add as for Mesa?
We're about on the same lines. It hasn't caused any detriment to our call takers at all. And it has actually sped up the process for entering those calls. I recommend it.
So we work with the state on and Comtech on getting the information for the misroutes we were having for text, specifically for ADT. And unless I haven't heard anything, so I'm guessing that got tapped down. Chandler was the biggest victim of that. Do you know if that's been tapped down?
It's been fewer.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Mike, you're not aware of any.
I've not been made aware of any.
Okay. That's good. All right. Very good. Any other questions I might ask?
So Liz, just from Glendale, we're looking at ASAP to PSAP. We're with Motorola, so we're actually inquiring about that and getting our quotes and everything. So just to give you some food for thought on that one.
So that goes through your CAD.
Right. So, but I mean, it's still, it's a lot better, I think, but I don't know.
Okay. Very good. Any other questions?
Okay, the next agenda item is a discussion on the budgeting software, and there will also be a discussion on the MAG fiscal year 2025 PSAP annual element funding request and fiscal year 2025 to 2030 equipment program. Ms. Graber will begin this discussion.
Damala was going to give a report, but she is out of the office for mostly the month of June. So I told her I wouldn't review it with her. Excuse me. She got some comments back from some of the PSAPs that wanted what they wanted in the reports and how they wanted them reviewed. And so we'll take that, and the budget working group with Domino leading the way will start looking at software and see what meets the needs and how we can get those reports. We can do a draft of what with all the comments and what we come up with, and then we'll look at software, price it out, and then bring it forth to this group to approve or pass. And we also will have to look for funding for it, but that's our goal, our next step. Any questions about that portion?
Okay, for the next agenda item, a report will be given on grant fund expenditures and unspent funds from the fiscal year 2023 911 grant. A report will also be provided on the submittal for the fiscal year 2024 911 grant for the. Ms. Graber will provide these reports.
And I'm sorry, on the last one, I was supposed to thank everybody for sending in your fiscal year 2025 budgets and the forecast. So we'll get those out. Total budget to you with the forecast. And so thanks for those PSAPs that are participating in that. Okay. So our grant award, if I can go to the next slide. There we go. So we were awarded for fiscal year 2023, 9.4 million. The money spent to date is a little over 7.1 million, and monies left unspent are 2.2 million. Of that monies left unspent, excuse me, 44% of that represents equipment. We have Luke Air Force Base and Phoenix PD. We had some login recorder for Scottsdale and some extra positions that will not be spent. And then the money's left over from Mesa's position represents that 44%. That will change. Luke Air Force Base, we have been dealing with getting their equipment and it just arrived. So what we'll do is pay for the equipment out of this fiscal year, and then we'll push their services when they install, because they won't be able to install their equipment till November because of the Motorola's schedules of technicians availability. So that equipment one will change so we can get that used up in this fiscal year. 51% of it represents the utilities. With the move of changing over to the wire line over into our system, it allowed us to stop making certain payments. Also, a few of the wireless things went away as well. So you can look at 51% of its utilities. That will change just a little bit. We're still truing up with CenturyLink on our Lumen, the last few things, but it won't change. It won't fluctuate that much. And then 5% is just miscellaneous. Money's left on the table. Is there any questions on our current fiscal year?
Okay, thank you, Ms. Graber. For the next agenda item, an update will be provided on the activities of the 911 Study Committee. Audrey Skidmore, MAG Information and Technology Director, will provide an update.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Audrey. I had to. I'm sorry. So you said fiscal year 2024. I thought they were two separate. Okay. I still have fiscal year 2024 grant submittal. So as you recall, we can only do 6 months. We've been asked to do 6-month grant submittal. So this grant that I just submitted is for July 1st from 2023 to December 31st of 2023. And so we submitted for a little over 3 million. Luke Air Force Base, that's their complete upgrade, but that will change because we're going to hit the majority of that in fiscal year 2023. So that's the total that we put in for fiscal year 2024. It comprises of personnel charges for 6 months, monthly contracts for 6 months. It includes the software support for all the PSAPs, your equipment. But it does not have any of the project, additional positions, and login recorders other than what will be in there for Luke. So if you put in for additional positions or Avondale an issue or due for an upgrade, that will happen in the second half, which is January 1st, 2024, and that's a typo, June 30th, 2024. So all the equipment will go on that second submittal. We'll start working that, I'm guessing, October, November timeframe. And all of the things that we normally put in the beginning will be on that. By that time, we'll know what the consultant report says, what the study committee comes up with, and we'll have a better idea of what the path lays before us when that second one comes through. So are there any, let me tell you one more thing. We did yesterday get our grant agreement for that first half. So we did receive it from the state. They awarded us, I'll give you, it's a little more than, I'm going to find it here. It's a little over 3.1 million. Last page is buried in the grant agreement. So no issues there with the grant. And I apologize. I'll send that out to you, what they sent me. I can forward that to you. But it actually was more than what we submitted, the 3 million $46,557. So that will cover us with Luke Air Force Base install costs. And then we'll load up everything. And so I'm assuming that when we do August meeting, we'll vote to recommend that first one, and then we'll have a second recommend meeting to the second half after the first of the year. A lot of questions, or any questions, a lot of stuff thrown at you. Any questions at all? Okay. No.
All right, for the next agenda item, an update will be provided on the activities of the 911 Study Committee. Audrey Skidmore, MAG Information and Technology Director, will provide this update.
Thank you, Chair, members of the committee. In May, the study committee received the draft of the report for the first two tasks in the consultant project. The consultants gave a presentation at that meeting on kind of summarizing the findings. I would remind you that that is not a recommendation on how to move forward. That report is summarizing their interviews with the agencies, their look at the MR911 system, and their look at peer regions. It's available online if you'd like to actually watch the presentation. Just kind of a high-level overview. I would say they found that the MR911 system was technically sound. They did identify some issues around customer service, tracking tickets, things like that. The biggest thing that one of the bigger things they highlighted was the level of funding available in the state for 911 as an opportunity for the state as a whole. It's pretty much the lowest in the country, or pretty darn close to. And not on par with peer regions around the country. And we will be receiving, so they have received some comments from the study committee and also from ADOA. They are reviewing those and incorporating them as appropriate into the document, which would then go back to the committee and become final. We will be receiving tomorrow the draft of the kind of the meat of the project, which is the recommendations for how to move forward, along with some tables and information about the relative pros and cons, cost, all of the analysis that goes with it. We expect that to be a range of options, not a single option, that would go back to the study committee for comment and then for discussion as they move forward. And unless there are any questions, that concludes my report.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Skidmore. Mr. Stillwell.
More so of a comment. I don't think anybody in this room or on this call or in our profession that's in the state ever doubted there was an issue with the tax rate. And we've all known what it is for a very long time. And we also know how our past and current legislators feel on raising the tax. And I feel that as good stewards of the money we have available, we should be looking at ways to better spend and lower costs. And as I've said in meetings past, one of those ways is by cutting the number of PSAPs, consolidating. I don't know the exact dollar amount of a back room, either the fixed or the variable cost, but I know it's not cheap. It's a lot of money. And so when you have 24 or more back rooms across this county, to me, that's a waste of money, amongst other things. So I'll just throw that out there.
So, and I could be wrong on one of them, but the peers that they reached out to are all multi-PSAP sites with the that are consolidated. And with the exception of, I don't know about Mecklenburg, North Carolina, but other than that, or Charlotte, North Carolina. I don't know if they have multiple PSAPs under one umbrella or not, but the other ones all did. So that was really interesting to see how many are all across it. And they're talking Greater Harris County, the Seattle area, and north of Dallas. So very interesting.
Yes, we're at the back of the pack again.
This is Mike Benjamin with Maricopa Region. I have a question associated with the concept of consolidation. Would the members at large here expect that the drive to PSAP operations consolidation would come from this group, or would it come from another body?
My opinion is I would love to see this group and MAG as well push it. I think that you're gonna get some individuals who may be against it, but I think overall, if we look at what's best for the viability and health of the profession and of our organizations, it's the right route to go. So as long as they don't make it a personal matter, then yes. And so yes, to answer your question, yes, I think that both this group as well as MAG as a whole should be pushing for consolidation.
Just and this is very much off the cuff, so I may get an elbow or a hook here in just a moment. But from a technical perspective, I would say that Maricopa Region for many years would say that we've agreed, but we never felt we were in a position to lead that charge, that was an operations item. Very much thought during the recession in 2008 that there'd be maybe a higher likelihood for PSAPs to consolidate. We've only really ever had one consolidation when El Mirage disappeared. We thought at one other point we may have another PSAP that was struggling with staffing. We thought that they may consolidate with another kind of peer group that seemed obvious, but actually what we saw during that time frame was MCSO, Tollison, and others do construction projects in new buildings. So from a technology perspective, I can tell you that we do also see a huge benefit from our perspective of managing the technology, and then also from our perspective of how we project operations may be improved. That projection is only an opinion you'd get from us if you ask for it, because we don't tell you how to operate your PSAPs, but we do see very many similarities across the region where groups, I'm not going to say struggle, but have to tackle the same issues. And because so much of the technology is obviously it's logic driven in terms of how calls move through the phone systems and your other systems, CAD systems and radio and so forth. We very much would like to participate in that, but unless we were told to step forward in more of a leadership role, we would act at the behest of the group at large, or whatever group was developed to move this forward.
So I'm piggybacking on Mike, I just want to emphasize that consolidation would have to be a member agency driven request. There would be no way that MR 911 would make that decision. We would support whatever decision that you came up with. With involved 911 is just a slice of what happens in your centers, right? So you're talking CAD, radio, all the things that go in with that. So and operations, and they're very complex, doable as we saw with our peers, especially in large metro areas. But that's a member-driven request. So it will be interesting what the study committee comes out with to see if that's even an option. And then what the 911 study committee recommends at that point.
This is Loretta from Glendale. I think it's more of an operational and it's above our decisions. And like you were talking, Liz, there's a lot of different things that it affects, whether it be the CAD, the radio operations, the SOPs. I mean, there's so many different things. I know when Tullison with El Mirage, they have a lot of heartburn, and that's 2 tiny agencies. So, I mean, there's a lot of issues that they're still trying to iron out. So I think there's a lot more than just what, yeah, we can recommend, but it's not that easy. And I know there's a lot more, there'll be a lot more cost as well to get everything switched over too.
This is Shauna Henry, and just since we're putting in our 2 cents, I agree with Loretta. I think that's outside the scope of this group, and it's more of an operational and a agency decision than it is a MAG or a PSAP managers group decision.
I was just going to point out that you do have the opportunity to report things to the study committee. So if there is some sort of input you wanted to have to that process, there is a way for you to express your opinions or thoughts on things like that through that process as they're looking at whatever recommendations come forward.
So are you saying that's something that they're actually looking at since you're privy to that information?
I don't actually have any of that information yet. I have not seen the draft report. I'm just saying that if that's an opinion you have and you wish to convey that to that group, there is a mechanism for you to do it. I'm not privy to what the recommendations are yet. Hopefully I'm going to get the draft report later today or early tomorrow, and then I'll understand where things are at.
So will that draft be sent out to the PSAP managers as well, so we have a general idea?
It'll go first to the study committee because it's a draft document for them to review and give feedback before it comes to any sort of final result. I assume that your representatives there will certainly discuss those with you. And then, of course, it eventually that will become a document that's available widely. Nathan, did I get that correct?
Yes, Madam Chair, members of the PSAP managers. Yeah, that's the direction we've received is to, from the co-chairs of the study committee, is to have that draft document for their review first. But just going back to the issue and question of consolidation, among our co-chairs, Chris Brady, manager of Mesa, and Kevin Phelps, manager of Glendale, this has been a kind of question or topic in their minds. It's come up a number of times in conversations. So it's definitely something that can be explored, no doubt about it. I know that in my time here at MAG, some 10, 12, 15 years ago, that was not preferred to pursue consolidation at that time, looking at just kind of local control issues and reasons behind that. Certainly, it's always been an issue to be explored. Now with the pending draft report from the consultant is a topic again, especially as was pointed out regarding peer agency review, comparative nationally. So something that's definitely on the table. We'll say that, but also the point being made too is that really gets up to kind of higher level management and policy direction as well. So I think pending the draft report and opportunity for this body to see it, again, would offer that you have these conversations with your managers, your city managers, and if this is something that you want explored more broadly as a matter of policy for the region, there's certainly an opportunity to push on this issue, to explore it more and what it might mean, implications of implementing that. So I would encourage you to do that.
Okay, are there any other questions or comments from the membership? All right, the next item is a report on technical updates and 911 system upgrade projects from the MR 911 technical team. Mike Benjamin, the 911 technical manager, will provide this report.
Thank you. First item to report on is that right now we are mainly in the process of maintaining the existing free next gen core services configuration that we're in. We are working steadily on general infrastructure updates, items that benefit the entire region, but that occur behind the scenes and not necessarily directly out at individual PSAPs. We do have various PSAP projects that we are working on with different jurisdictions. A lot of these involve either furniture, rehab on furniture, replacement of furniture, or other remodels at PSAPs. And we do have a number of non-911 telephony projects, different jurisdictions that are changing how they deal with their non-911, the administrative type and 10-digit emergency lines. And then Liz also mentioned that we do have a project for Vesta. This is for Luke Air Force Base, and that project equipment has arrived. So our staff members are dealing with the arrival of that equipment and pre-staging it and so forth, so that it will be ready when we have our further engagement with the Vesta resources to put that into production later in the calendar year. That's the balance of the report here. I can take any questions. Hearing none, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Are there any requests from members for an agenda on a future agenda? Are there any comments or announcements from the membership?
I just have a comment. This is Loretta from Glendale, and I want to tell Liz and Mike for their group, thank you so much for all the work that you guys been doing on our remodel. They've been working with us really well and helping us out with this remodel and still remaining operational. So we're in our phase 2. So I greatly appreciate all the work that the technicians have been doing and responding on the last minute notice since it is a grant funded project. So, we have the timeline that we have to go under, and they've been really great.
Thank you, Loretta. May I ask Jim or whoever is on the APCO Nina, do we have a training conference coming up?
Yes, the state training conference is the week of July 10th, so the 10th through the 14th. It will be held at the Phoenix Marriott at the Buttes in Tempe, right off of the I-10 and the 143. The registration is open. It starts at $125 per day for single day attendance, up to $550 for the full week. And that includes all your meals. We have Nina's customer service class as a pre-conference class on Monday. The 3 main conference days are Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Friday is a post-conference course hosted by Motivations. We also have the statewide managers forum meeting. It will be held on Tuesday. It is an all-day event. Lunch will be provided. That event in and of itself is free to attend. So even if you don't plan on coming to the conference and you want to attend the statewide managers meeting, you can do that. You do have to sign up for it, so we know how many lunches to have ready. But on the website, if you go to the AZ APCO Nina website, there will be a link to the conference website itself.
Okay, thank you. The next meeting of the PSAP Managers Group will be on Thursday, August 10th at 10 a.m. with no further business. Today's meeting is adjourned.
Are you doing a post meeting on 800 megahertz talk group?
No.
Oh,
Liz, I can speak to that. This is Karen Sutherland.
yes, Karen.
So I have submitted that for discussion in UASI. I was thinking that we had had the conversation here in the PSAP managers meeting about the Fusion Center and receiving information or access to the PSAP manager channel. But since that doesn't seem to be the case, I reached out to UASI to have the conversation there. So we'll let that play out before we bring it back here.
Okay. We're adjourned.